Well, here's a joke for you. What do you get when you cross opera with improv? The punchline can be seen tonight at Kilter Brewing in St. Boniface as Outside Joke Improv shares the debut performance of The Operavisors. Get it? The premise is the brainchild of bass baritone and Winnipeg comic Christopher Dunn, who joins me in the Classic 107 studios. Nice to have you back here, Christopher.
Thank you so much for having me.
My goodness. Yeah, bringing the bass baritone energy nice and early in the morning. Okay, opera, I don't have to tell you as a seasoned performer across the city, is hard enough as it is. Why improvise one on the spot? Where does this idea come from?
Robin Slade of Outside Joke. I was at their show at Kilter Brewing. They're making a regular thing of this now as a really lovely incubator for other less established improv groups, but ones that haven't been seen in a while. Just as a way to get people involved in the improv scene again. And she happened to say, like, what would an improvised opera look like?
The vocal range you're demonstrating right now is
So
quite
you can
impressive.
expect this tonight at the show.
Very good. All the voice parts, all represented all at once. Okay, so this is an effort by Outside Joke to try and keep including people and different groups.
It started out with a question, and then I love any opportunity to go, yeah, how could we make that work? And then she just said, get the coolest people you can together, and I found them, and yeah.
Wow. Okay, so then as you assemble these sorts of opera singers, I would wager that the things that you learn in music school, while helpful, isn't always the skill set that you need to put something like this together as a member of the Operavisors. What sorts of skill sets then do you exercise when you perform opera in this fashion that you might not get to exercise if you were just doing opera as the crow flies?
Archetypally, it's so interesting because like improv is so associated with fluidity and opera with very much rigidity.
Yeah.
But even in its early stages, opera, of course, and early music was so much improvising with like figured bass and all of the commedia dell'arte characters. And opera and improv comes from that same commedia world. So like they were bosom buddies in their inceptions. And it's just kind of bridging that gap again and helping them re-know each other. Brady Barrientos, they are a fantastic performer you can see tonight. And they said this really impactful thing to me after rehearsal last evening. I mean, we're all exhausted because they said it just stretches my capabilities to the razor's edge of what I should or shouldn't do all the time. And that is so thrilling, and it's exactly why I love improvising in music. That
sort of exploration, that opportunity to then figure out what's possible in an environment, as you say, that might not always lend itself to discovering what is possible, because so many things in scores from even the last 100, 200 years, everything is so specifically laid out that then there isn't that kind of room maybe performers feel to do that sort of exploration and improvisation.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, so then it sounds like you're doing rehearsals for improv. It seems like a bit of a contradiction in terms, but like probably not preparing specifically for what you're going to be doing tonight.
Yeah. No, I thought about this recently, and I'm glad you brought it up because people ask about rehearsing for improv all the time. And I got to bring it right back to sports. Like teams don't know. Every sporting match of any kind is an improv show.
Love it.
Right?
Fantastic.
And those drills and stuff that they're doing in practices are the same ways that we're kind of preparing. It's just like you get the skills of like this moment will be a recit. And when we hear this in the piano, when Paul DeGurst, fantastic accompanist for this show, and for Outside Joke, who will be doing the set after us, we're opening for them, is just so great. And when we hear Paul jump from recit to more aria texture in the accompaniment, that's when we know to shift if we're doing more narrative stuff versus more feely stuff. So yeah.
I would imagine also that if you are sort of working this angle of improvisation and making some or putting a challenge too, maybe that's the best way to say it, challenging that sort of operatic stereotype that everything has to be so rigidly performed, that would also lend itself to some mockery on a stage, especially a non-traditional one like the one that audiences will see tonight at Kilter Brewing. What are some of the tropes then in sort of operatic lore, I guess you could say, that you get to lean on and then make fun of for comedic purposes?
Yeah, I think it's like having, those little awake chocolate bars.
Okay.
It's like if you're falling,
Yeah.
going somewhere with this.
Yeah.
Not sponsored content.
Good for you.
Those little, you can find them at GPAs.
Good disclaimer. My boss eats them all the time.
Yeah. Those little bars, I think it's like having those in your back pocket are the ways those archetypes service us. So there's like the Sopranos, damsel in distress, so like powerful like magic user, there, or like the Zarastro or Rigoletto, older dads or like villains. Though between those worlds, I think it's like having little things to help caffeinate you if you feel sort of tired, and you have those to lean on if you don't quite know where to go.
Sure. As an operatic person yourself, is that when you do that, is that like, oh yeah, this is fair game, or that's cool, or maybe do you feel like is there a sense of defensiveness that kicks in here as well to say like, hey, I'm kind of making fun of this art form that, yeah, it's got its quirks and its oddities, but at the end of the day, like, I still love this, and arts companies need more money than ever. Is this contributing to a negative perception in the public? Oh my gosh.
It's an interesting question, and I
created my own spiral as I was talking.
I appreciate it because like that kind of bridging between comedy and opera, or at least improv and opera, even where you'd see an opera is not typically associated with like a brewery, but more like opera pub events are globally popularized, and there's so much more efforts by different opera companies around the world to connect with their audiences in a more holistic and grounded way. And I think this presents a really neat opportunity to invite people into that world who might not typically be involved in it, because in both improv and opera, as an artist that goes between both myself, I find it's really easy in whatever art form you're in to get lost in an echo chamber of like what you assume people know. And it's fantastic talking to the outside joke artists who are incredible improvisers, and I've been wanting to perform with them and now get to, after like since 10 years ago, saw them do a musical about a shark volcano, like sharks that came out of a volcano. Sharkcano.
Okay, cool.
And this was back when Sharknado was very popular.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
But like talking to them and showing them this is some of the conventions of opera, and the excitedness in their eyes, are like, oh, that's neat. I didn't know that. And then them getting to share with us at different like levels of clown and improv to share their experience with us. It's just fantastic collaboration, and I really think only good stuff comes from this as we become messengers and champions of each format.
I would imagine as you're talking, I was thinking about how maybe performing in this kind of a venue might also be a way for you and the other performers to then gauge what actually is important about opera. When you boil it down to an audience that might not be quite so steeped in the culture, then you're sort of forced to then boil it down, pare it down to its essentials. What do you think you'll take away from this kind of a performance experience and then bring back into that more sort of traditional creative opera space? What do you learn from this kind of experience that makes you go, guys, this is what the people actually kind of want when they come to see an opera?
One of my favorite humans and playwrights and actors, Bernadine Stapleton, back in Newfoundland. she gave me an incredible thing when analyzing text, and it was find the nugget of truth. And I think within the 30 to 35 minutes that we're going to be, don't go looking at your watches tonight for
No.
like timing it, but the 30 to 35 minutes that we have to do this condensed version of an opera, it will be great to find whatever nuggets of truth that we can about within these archetypes and about these characters, because it's only really going to resonate if we go to the truest place possible. Because if you do go for the joke, or the mockery of it, as we were saying, it just won't serve the story as well. So I think we'll do our very best to find each nugget of truth in our characters, and there's chances that will be very funny.
Yeah.
But the nugget of truth is what we'll go for, and I think that that will be very important when we have 2.5 hours to do an opera scripted. That finding those little moments that resonate with us and are true to us will be very valuable.
Audiences can find those nuggets of truth tonight with the Operavisors taking the stage, brewery floor, one of those two, at Kilter Brewing in St. Boniface, 450 Rue des Chambeaux. Tonight at 8 o'clock. Tickets are $15. We'll have more information at our website, classic107.com, and the Classic 107 app. Christopher Dunn, thank you so much for joining us to tell us about the Operavisors.
Thank you so much, Nolan.